Meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Adequate notice of this meeting being held this 7th day of March 2024 at 6 o'clock has been provided for in section 3D of the chapter 231 of the public laws of 1975, commonly known as the Sunshine Law. Read the God pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. We should have a roll call just repeat.
Muir,
Here.
Nelson, here, Key,
Yeah.
Kenny,
Here.
Lindsay,
Here.
Moody. Here. Thank you.
Thank you for everybody being here. This is our second budget meeting and presumably the last before we introduce. So with that, I'll turn over to Ms. Mooney to go over any changes since the last meeting and then where the tax rate stands.
I think I remember. Sorry about that. Well, so first of all, we didn't technically finish. Do we want to finish sheet 28 or go through it together? It's very, just,
So they just go through and get there.
okay.
I don't think we're really big changes though.
No. So, one thing I noticed when I was going over this, on sheet 4, for the interest and cost on taxes, I had 33,000. It was supposed to be 30,000 because we can't, anticipate more than we realized the prior year. And I just had, I guess, a typo, so, that is changed on this budget.
That's the interest of most of the taxes too.
Interest and cost on taxes, yes, yeah, I had to reduce it to 30. And I was changing out the pages, I wasn't thinking, and I tossed the pages that were changed and not, and I didn't keep them, so I apologize that I don't have
Sorry.
it's in front of me.
I had a nice.
Copy with a lot of
For a
notes.
while.
Yes, you.
Do you want to use my copy with a lot of notes on it? I should. Sure. If you can read my notes. I
Okay.
hope it doesn't.
I'm not. So,
I don't think you have.
Might be stuff on there that you don't need, but.
Okay. You just want me to go through the changes, correct? That's what you would ask.
Yeah, up until 28, sheet 28.
I think other than sheet, or doesn't look like there were revenue, so that does affect, sheet 11. So all the changes that were made to the budget, sheet 11 did get, affected. So on sheet 6A, the local tax for municipal purposes, that was reduced to $2,310,089.69 from $2,316,476.
$6,000.
Yes. Buildings and grounds. On sheet 15A.
Before we adjust technology last meeting?
I believe
You brought it to 6,000,
we went to 6.
and we were gonna do the ordinance.
I thought we were leaving it at 10.
I think that's what I was questioning.
Because his,
Or was it the 6,000 we were gonna put in ordinance?
yeah, because I know Jeff flat fee for.
Right, it's the other way around. It should be 10,000 with a 6K going into an ordinance
Right,
that we're taking out of
I
capital.
have 10, yeah.
Yeah,
10's right.
that we have that out of capital, in case we need room.
right,
And that way, we don't have to worry, also, if we don't do new equipment this year, we have it for next year.
yeah,
But that was-
so that went from, I think it was 13, I think.
So it won't change, the officially made. Right.
What page was that?
13.
It went from 13 to 8.
Yeah, that's right.
And then 15A
This is not, this is something new, so if we can go to 15 before you go to 15.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't share this with you either, so this is new for the committee to consider. South Branch Rescue reached out to me. I'm just trying to go back and see. Numbers somewhere here. So this is a discussion to be had. They perform their own calculations. So South Branch EMS receives 22,810. Pattenberg Rescue Squad receives 37,110. Based on call volume, the per call for Pattenberg is $206, per call for South Branch is $181. So they were asking if they could be brought up to have the same per dispatch, which would bring them to 25,956. That's about $3,000 difference. They're not asking to be equal with Pattenberg, they're just asking to have the same rate per dispatch. I did talk to Chief Sednicki. I told him I would, and I am advocating for him. I think that's fair, but I also need to be fair to our process, and I shared with him, I believe that we all signed the contracts last year for 23 and 24. Or Paul, if you can confirm, I think the squads signed them as well for 23 and 24.
Well, they just signed off on the paper that was submitted to me, I haven't seen any contracts.
Okay, so the agreement, I guess, I should just follow.
I haven't seen any agreements.
Oh, okay,
The only thing I have, the paper I have is the paper that they signed, saying they gave me the updated information for their,
so we have them in turn.
Yes.
Okay, so,
They mentioned that. at the beginning.
yeah, so I put it out for consideration with the understanding that we have an agreement in place, as well. So I'll open it for thoughts from other committee members.
Yeah, sure, I have no problem with that. And I don't know why there's a difference, other than it's just an anomaly based on number of calls. I'm assuming that's what it is. One year you get so many, another year you get different, so, but I don't know.
Anybody else have any opposition to it?
but with that, holding us up to the other places saying, hey, you gave them a raise aside. Signing a contract, we want our, can we get a raise this year too? Which, look, I say I think everyone should, just.
I'm much process. I think our reasoning is that this was validated by the call volume and restricted to EMS only.
And keeping in mind, the fire departments,
Have their,
our quota is based upon,
They,
so
so the fire, the EMS squads aren't part of that agreement group that the fire department has, so
it's not,
we're paying the rescue squad is different.
Yeah. Steve,
You're bringing them to hourly equal wages, that's.
well, not, per call, not hourly, per call.
Oh, yeah, per call, but you're saying we pay Pattenberg, like, let's just say even number 200,
Yes,
and South Branch wants 200 per call too.
correct.
I think that's kind of fair, I mean. Yeah, I mean, I've used Pattenberg quite a few times for health reasons and shit for my family, so I'd like to bring them up too, so. Yeah, absolutely.
And my comment is we do it by call.
Yeah.
I mean, next year, suppose they have less holes.
So,
They
yes,
will take less money, I assume not, but.
It's by default.
yeah.
Well, I know, but
The
the call's not,
call volume is
it's different every year.
Right.
One year they may get 100 more calls than they got last year. And that's when we talk about personally, I'm sure we would want
Do that.
to give it by call. It's similar to what we did for the fire department. We have a total budget, 100%. And we give them percentages from our 100, based upon what they think is fair. But I don't have a problem with $2,000 for them, and then, but it's not, it doesn't mean we're gonna decide to pay the full.
So I would ask then, for a motion to approve the, increase of South Branch EMS from 22,810 to 25, sorry, 956, acknowledging that this is a one-time recognition of a disparity, not setting precedent, for any future, increases.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Keith,
Yes,
Kenny,
Yeah,
Lindsay,
Yes,
Nelson,
Yes,
Muir.
Yes. And before we leave this page, I just want to put on the record, we had a discussion last meeting about ways we can help our first response agencies and maybe Mr. Adam, if you want credit, or Mr. Kenny, acknowledgement of an idea of putting together a capital or encouraging a capital budget. And contributions to that for them as well. So I've had discussions with some of the chiefs across the board, both rescue and fire. And not all, but some, and it's not gonna change anything for this year. I acknowledge that they're all where they are based on agreements. But I would like this year to start having discussions about establishing a capital budget that we can potentially contribute to as a township for 2025. So I just want to make that note. So this year's staying the same, it's not impacting this year's budget, but I'd like to help with the plan for future years. I would also, during the course of this year, like to find other ways that we can help them with volunteers and efforts. I do believe we already waived building permit fees for volunteers, but there's other things that we can talk about going forward. Again, not for tonight, but I think maybe, we'll start off with talking. Lindsay, if you and I can start talking to some of the leadership, and once we get through the budget and start the plan for 2025, and see if we can find some other incentives. So that would move on to 15 nights. So that's sorry, I appreciate it. This structure for the fall.
It's all right.
And thank you everybody for the consideration.
So 15K, buildings and grounds, we dropped that from 35,000 down to 30.
that was confirmed, we just one board instead of two releases, right?
I think we're doing just
Just that.
this door here, not these, not all.
Perform some sort of maintenance as we go.
I don't see any changes yet up through 19, unless. Anyone have any questions?
I guess we'll work on. Actually, I skip over the health insurance and see the unemployment. General revenue, or employee group, I guess, maybe try and revisit.
I would like to,
Next year.
yeah, I would like to revisit, we looked at health insurance for next year. And this year was not as bad as last year, but still, like 7%. I'd like to see, as an individual small group, I think we're facing some challenges as we try to explore, but it would still like to take a look at some other options.
Well, some of these companies, they take jet, like,
There are health,
Health insurance.
there are health chips, so we'll have to explore that, there are things.
The next change. I think the 26 is the capital. I don't know if we needed to discuss. Anything there. Or if we were just leaving everything.
So this purchase, we put more into from this is one that was set a few years ago, and the one you still there.
No.
No. So I emailed this to everybody, but again, I think we should probably have a separate discussion, because we could probably take the whole next hour and a half to talk about. The capital plan, but I put together a spreadsheet and I emailed it out. Thank you, Mr. Roth and Mr. Keith for putting together. Received a list of requests for the next, I would say as many as 10 years. And then also our current list of equipment for some things that we disposed of. And I used that to create more of a plan. It's not as detailed, but to explain what I did is I took for the next 5 years, those equipment requests. And then I subtracted any equipment that we would be disposing of, so that we know what the net equipment cost was for the next 5 years. 2027, the note was whatever was left over in the previous years. So I included everything in the previous years, and left 2027 with no equipment. And then road repair, I think the plan or the proposed plan, I should say, the proposed plan is we're going to be continuing to apply for DOT grants, for the developments that need work. Typically, there are 2 phases, so we're gonna apply, like, for example, this year, we applied in 22 and 23 for roads at Fox Farm, and now we're performing the Fox Farm development, so I put in paving, because there's always a slight cost over what we get, from DOT, so about $20,000. And then the next one would be Hickory Ridge Development, same thing, a 2-year grant application, and hopefully they're awarded, and we would perform that in 2025. There's some drainage, or I should call it as a culvert, or catch basin repair in Hickory Ridge, so I put $80,000 for that. And the paving, I apologize, the paving would, so we would do the culvert repair in 2025 at 80,000, and the paving would occur in 2026. I put that at 40,000 instead of 20, because I keep anticipating asphalt prices to go up. And then the third would be the Kremlin development in 2027, to be awarded hopefully through a DOT grant. They also included 3 roads every year. We do between 3 and 5. It's really based off the mileage, but for the purpose of this, chip seal, so 180,000, and then I bring it up to 200,000, because again, it will continue to go up. And then so we took the equipment, we took the roads, so those are both capital expenses. And then I took a capital fund, because we discussed in the last meeting, we were trying to remain debt free. So we need to start saving to replace this equipment. These numbers, there's a spreadsheet behind these, and I can go over them with our CFO. But what I was trying to do was calculate the cost of replacement of equipment, and then as we purchase new equipment, add in the cost of replacement of that equipment. So that when we get to a point that we need to purchase in 3 or 4 years, we can do it all through the capital fund. So you can look at the total capital needs for the next few years. So this year is almost $1 million, 978.6. 2025, 1.5 million, 2026, 2.3 million. I'll point out too, the 2026 includes a street sweeper and a vacuum truck, which is very much up for discussion on how we want to approach that. That's for the stormwater requirements, whether we're the ones purchasing it and creating agreements with surrounding towns. We did have an opportunity to speak to the county today, and the county, you know, they didn't say no, but there was just an initial discussion, maybe the county supplies, purchase this as equipment and supplies, or maybe there are other cities, I believe Lambertville and Bloomington both have street sweepers. I don't know if anyone in the north, Park does, Clinton may, and then we create some other. But for now, I'm sure that this is really kind of leaning towards worst case scenario, so we know what we can plan for. The other thing that I put notes on here, I sent out an initial draft, and then I sent this out late last night, so people saw the notes. The last 5-year capital plan we had was done, I think, in 2015, 14 or 15. And at that time, we were working on replacing the wheel loader and the backhoe. And this all started because when I started on the committee in 2011, I saw that in 2009, at the time, we've been taking out notes in the $400,000 range every year. And in 2009, all of a sudden, we had a $1 million note. And I asked what that was for, and it was because all of our equipment needed to be replaced all at once. And so we can't do that. The equipment we had no value, so there's no trade-in value. So part of this is, there's two components, is you have a piece of equipment, so take the wheel loader. Eventually, the cost of maintenance exceeds the cost of purchasing something new. And we would also like to have a trade-in value on it. So I'm just pointing out that in addition to what's already on here, that wheel loader had been purchased with a 10-year replacement cycle, which would put it up for replacement in 2025, and that's not on here. I did talk to Mr. Roth about it, and it sounds like the machine is in currently good condition. But again, we don't want to exceed and start having higher maintenance costs. And also for reference, I'm just trying to do the calculations, I should have put this on here, it has 3,800 hours, so I believe, is that what we shared? It was 38, and I rounded it, it was like 38.
3877.
So let's say 3,800. It's tough, so Mr. Roth and I had a discussion about this. I always use the factor of 30 for maintenance, and wear and tear. If you look on the internet, there's the translate hours to miles, so that people kind of know what it is. You know, if you have a car with 100,000 miles, you gotta know what the condition of the vehicle is with 100,000 miles, because it's something we all drive. But hours is a little different. And if you look, there's guides from 27.5 to 60 hours. I always use 30 as a factor. So, you know, technically the wheel loader has 114,000 miles. I feel like your car with 114,000 miles. The backhoe previously been on an 8-year replacement cycle, which will put it for replacement this year. However, there's two factors with the backhoe. It used to be used a lot more than it is now, but it currently has 2,400 hours on it. So again, for reference, that's the equivalent of about 72,000 miles to a vehicle. And a lot of what the backhoe did for construction projects and drainage projects is now taken from the Traco that we purchased. So really the backhoe is used for going out and clearing roads and some other projects. It's not on construction as much, so we can probably get a longer lifespan out of it. So I'm comfortable, even though it's due for replacement this year, not replacing the backhoe this year, but they need to be part of the discussion when we have this larger discussion. I will say we bought the backhoe. One of my comments back then too was that, you know, we're a municipality and not a private contractor. And so we have certain obligations. So that backhoe, the wheel loader are used for large scale storms, snow. We need to make sure the roads are clear for emergency vehicles. We're not a contractor that's, you know, plowing a parking lot, and if something breaks down, we'll be there a little later. We need to make sure that ambulance and fire trucks can get there. So, you know, I do take these things seriously too, to make sure that the equipment is as good as it can be while fitting into our budget.
I have a question, and you're saying this is used for drainage projects a lot?
It used to be the new, Kubota
The
tractor.
Kubota does, but we contracted out Brunswick.
Mhm.
Would that be a possibility on the other?
It could be going forward.
Okay, so just take that into consideration on equipment needs, okay.
Quick question. Maybe hit this and I just overlooked it. On the 2025, you have 80,000 for Hickory Ridge
Yes.
drainage.
Yeah.
And 180 for the chip, so shouldn't that be 260 in total to the 180?
Yeah, then, yes, sorry, I didn't pull that down. Thank you for pointing that out.
I just want to make sure that was,
It should be, 1.5. A little over 1.5 and 2 for that. Total. Yeah, I did some, I left that though.
yeah, I just want to make sure the numbers are.
So, again, we need to have a larger discussion about this, and before, of course, next year's budget. But based on what's here, we don't want to make the decisions on a vacuum. So the requests this year are another mason dump and a sidearm mower. And that would include disposal of the 2010 550 mason dump that we have and an older tractor. I guesstimated the values on those. And Mr. Roth, I don't know if you reached out about trading in the 2010, and if you received any response.
And he didn't get back to me, I just did today.
So I'm ballparking those
He
trades.
said 5 between 10 and 15.
Okay, I picked 12, so we kind
That's
of,
a good person.
yeah, figured it's right in the middle. Not knowing that, that's just where I value
Right.
the truck, so. So with that, I said, we get a larger discussion about the upcoming years, but for this year, knowing what's coming down the road, this represents purchase of equipment of 150. Because we would hopefully see some sort of trade in, so this is right now just for the mason dump, not the sidearm dump. Mr. Lashley, what does that look like if you don't have the sidearm mower? Is the other machine able to make it through another year?
Mhm.
Okay. But then again, knowing that that's gonna be then put into 2025, most likely. And you're looking at other purchases then.
And as we keep on getting pushed back.
Yeah, we got the plan we were talking about. That would be a spare.
Well,
We thought about getting a plow for the. That pick up another one. You remember that?
but they truck,
Yeah,
I ordered one last year.
okay, but that's for the new truck already.
Yeah.
I don't really
And I got,
know.
I got a spare one.
Yeah.
Everybody's thoughts?
Well, I think the key is to not go out for funding. You know, go into debt.
Correct.
Yeah, that was my big thing. I don't
That's my
want to
big-
get that anymore.
Yeah,
I've held true to that. I think it's a good idea, but. I think we can hold off on the front end loader and the back end, because they are nice machines. But if you want to get value from them for what they're worth now, then. That's something, if we could hold off another year, I think the equipment's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I just want to put them on the radar, because that was, if the other plan, we had a plan for 5 years, and we had off the plan, so if we were revisiting it, I just want to put them back on the radar. I do think they're in good condition, but I just want like, for example, we're not advocating replacing them this year, but when we did replace the wheel loader that we have now, it was like $180,000 machine, and we got it for $97,000, because we had a trade-in that was able to be resold. And so, that's the value of making sure that you still have equipment that has some value. And if we're putting our capital fund together, in addition to that trade-in, that's how we stay out of, that's how I wanna look down the road and not get caught saying all of a sudden, like 2026, potentially we're looking at 2.3 million, but we're preparing for that.
Last meeting, we were talking about putting money into the capital fund, and I said I just wanted money put aside just for the equipment that we're gonna need. That means that we could tap into that capital fund for the equipment we need, like no hold bar, no bullshit, like,
Yes.
oh, we can't afford it this year, but you need this equipment, everybody's aware, we are gonna need equipment.
So this year, we're putting in 37,900 into the capital fund. I was proposing putting in an additional 18,000 in if we're looking at purchasing some of these other things down the road. But the capital fund sits around 215.
15,
Okay. More than 30,000.
before this year's.
So you'll be at 250-ish
Right.
Next year.
It'll still be up for discussion, but there's gonna be no bullshit, like, no, we really can't afford it, I mean, this is equipment we have to have. You know, so, okay, I'm just very unsure about that last meeting, like, sounded like you were bullshitting. You know, and I was just wanted money put.
I was just confused because we agreed last meeting, maybe that was the problem, because I was the one who wanted equipment last time and you didn't.
Yeah.
And now we both want equipment because we realize the importance of it, so I was confused by agreeing with you.
I just wanna make sure that money's there if we need equipment.
Yeah, no, that's the purpose of it, and our roads, but as long as we keep finding funding for the roads, then that would be good.
And not go out for bonds.
Is there a way, we can do something to ensure that this capital fund that we have, that in the future, other people may be sitting up here instead of us, and that money is only used for equipment and type stuff, and no it's for, you know,
Come to the meetings after we retire.
Yeah, with the next meeting with the capital, like, if we need to replace the roof, or we need to, you know, about money sitting there.
but that's in a separate
No,
capital.
no, that's the same thing.
That'd be the same.
So like, for the purposes, like capital is anything, 5-year, yeah, 5-year lifespan. So we could spend on anything that has more than a 5-year lifespan. But those of us who are sitting here now want to use it for equipment.
So you can't have a separate capital funds account for equipment as compared
That's what I
to
was asking.
a separate account. Everything has to go under one capital funds account, so that money can be used, like you said.
Unless you do a capital ordinance. And that's funded differently.
Right, or if I did, you know, I mean, I guess it's possible to open up a whole nother bank account. You know, and put money into another bank account.
Right.
Just strictly for that, but.
That's, you know,
I still don't know.
That still doesn't have to do.
Yeah.
It's only using capital equipment.
Yeah.
We said it was for
Right.
one project and 5 years later.
Again, I think the only way you can really do it, so the last 5-year capital plan had a 5-year ordinance attached to it, but it also had a note attached to it, so that money that we borrowed went to the ordinance, and was protected to only go towards what was in that 5-year capital plan. It's a little harder, if we're using our own savings essentially.
now is that capital funds in an account that's earning interest, these an interest rate, that's something that can address every year, or is that like locked in? What is the interest rate in that capital funds now?
We just went through it, so it was,
For
yeah.
4.5.
We still, the bigger it is, the better it is.
Yeah, we have a floor, essentially, so.
Okay.
So the more, so I think the floor was for,
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
but, there's a floor, and then, yeah, but it's based on the volume, or the volume of dollars that we have saved.
So the interest rate now is pretty much good that we should be getting, we invest in everything at percent, when we save.
The draft, sorry, yeah, we negotiated as part of our.
So, you know, we were talking about equipment, roads, capital. We think of any of our other capital that we need, other things that might become necessary at some point in time, like a roof. You know, building next door. You know, we have other capital projects that have much longer lives. But there will come a day, you gotta redo the roof, there's gonna come a day when the equipment, when our hot water heater thing is gonna break in the other building. and
Generator.
can't work. Yeah, generator. So I think this is a great thing to do. My only comment is, it's better than not doing anything. I think we have to do this, but I think we should also think about, you know, I'm looking up, because when was the last time the roof was done on this building? Since it was built? It's probably a 25 year roof. I mean, I'm thinking out loud. No, but,
About 25 years ago.
well, that's why
We did do
Because
the
that-
community
I
center.
did the roof on my house, because it was a 25 year roof. And I didn't have capital. So my point is, we have other
Yes,
things that we should think about. Our buildings and grounds are also going to need capital equipment. They're fortunately also a little bit longer term. We don't have to put as much into debt out there, but we should start thinking about that as well. Like, there's probably other stuff. Well, that if we put that. But someday we're gonna
The septic system, something like that.
that's a possibility. We guess it would.
How would that
If
septic
we're treating it right, in theory, that's wherever.
Like the HVAC systems, something and the electrical, there are grants for, but like roofing and other things, most likely there's not. So, just for the purposes of this meeting, then, we're still, with the purchase of equipment at 150, capital improvement bond, they're contributing 37.9. And $385,000 on improvements to roads. Are we comfortable with these numbers, and are we approving the purchase of a mason dump with those funds?
Yeah.
What we need, right?
Yeah, that was the priority, right?
And we're just voting. Okay,
It's gotta be done.
We're getting rid of 2010.
correct.
Obviously, if you slide it to the right purchasing it, the value of what we get for the ones that are actually replacing goes down, so. And the chances are, the price will go. That
Trust me, also, the maintenance costs will go up on the older pieces of equipment as well. I'm not asking for a separate vote for that, you could be in the, in fact, I didn't think you for the rescue, but I just wanted to. Okay.
See what.
That's actually, that's one of the grants we're applying for this year.
No, just.
For sheet 27, we did drop down the payment of our note to 120,000. It'll still keep us on track for being paid off.
Paid off in 2026.
It has to be paid off.
That's to be paid off at 2027.
Has to be paid off by 2027. With paying 120,000, we'll have 315,329 left to pay.
How much?
315,329.
So 2026.
After for 2025 on, after this year.
Right, so we have 3 years after this year to pay the 315 off.
I would make the suggestion,
What's the interest rate now? Remember?
we go out, so it'll change in June.
The interest rate of this debt change.
It changes because it gets rebid. every
This one was 4.2%,
What?
4.2% that we started last year.
Now, is that affected by how much money is in the quote surplus?
No, that
doesn't look.
Oh, I said we go out to a bid and we ask.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that interest rate is, do they look at, oh, you have this much in surplus here, so you make it a lower rate, have you had more in surplus? Or
Actually, it's a strange, we keep saying municipal finance is a little strange. What I've seen.
Lot strange.
Yeah, so,
it's not like you doing your home.
so the more debt you have, probably the better rate you're gonna get, right? So we go out with $300,000.
It's the opposite of what you.
Yeah, nobody really wants to take on, like, there's nothing, they're not gonna make anything off of $300,000. So we'll be lucky if we get 1 or 2 bids on it. It's probably our bank, just out of courtesy.
Okay.
So,
And we don't have a bond rating. So we have to pay like $40,000-$50,000 for the professionals and whatnot to go through to get a bond rating.
the
So,
surplus would have to be higher to get a good bond rating.
mhm.
Not much, we rebuilt it, but it still have to be higher.
Do they rate municipal agencies the same they do corporations, like the Moody's or something like that?
It's, I don't know if the standards are the same behind it, but it's the same of like an A plus. It's like,
Right.
we had this discussion when we did the last 5-year capital, because we were talking about, we were worried about interest rates going up back then.
Mhm.
And so that's why we did the 5-year capital with a $2 million ordinance, and then we still went for notes, but we wanted to, we talked about issuing a bond, we talked to the auditor about locking in, a bond, and locking in the lower interest rate at that time. That's the only benefit if you're gonna do the bond, you get the rating and you lock in the interest rate, you use it for multiple years for some stability, but we're trying to avoid that, so.
Yeah.
But what I would suggest is we're using $440,000 in surplus. Mike suggested we use $480,000 in surplus. I continue to pay down our debt at $160,000.
Where we have the surplus in the.
4.5. Yeah, 2, so take out, how much is that? I just don't.
Yeah.
Not sure. No,
Yeah,
1.4 in surplus at the end of the
1.4 million.
We're in better shape than we have been.
Yeah, when we took over the budget, we were at 17% surplus, and we're about 40% surplus now, so.
Right, 60s.
Right, is
60,
that right?
60
That's
would
right.
give the better bond rating for the Bermuda. What is yours with that?
Yeah,
Steve,
To me,
what-
it's, negligible either way.
It's probably not. But I.
Like last meeting, we were talking about it's better, like I want to put the debt down. You guys were talking about the interest being better than the other, so we're expanding.
Right.
I guess that's what you're figuring out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really negligible because we should make $63,000 in interest this year at the 4.5%. Yeah.
Maybe not quite,
Because it goes,
it just depends on what.
5% of the million is 50. That's the way I figure. Because it's easy.
Yeah, I don't know, it depends,
But-
we're gonna have some months that are gonna have higher balances.
so I mean, but I would be concerned because the current prime rate is 8.5%. So we're seeing here, so, I'd be just concerned that, when we do go out for the note. Yeah, the prime rate is 8.5 this year, last year was 7.75, and we got a 4.2% note. So the notes will probably go up to 4.5%. Well,
The interest is going up, then get ahead of it and knock down some of that principal interest goes up.
that's what I was saying, I mean, I think all around $40,000 is negligible, but it puts us on track to still be done in 2026 with that.
We can have it next year if we did something.
I'm just trying to,
I don't know, I'm okay either way.
Yeah, I think too. I'm not working either, so.
Yeah, either way.
Because it's not.
I say let's do it.
Do what? Pay off,
Increased it to 160 to 120 maybe this year towards the debt.
so
Pay
we're
off more
gonna
of the debt.
keep paying off the debt.
Keep paying them off, but right now we have 120 budget, he had recommended maybe doing it 160, so additional $40,000. So you're gonna pay additional, because the bond rate, if we go out for bid on the interest rate in June.
Yeah.
It's already higher than what it was last year, so we're gonna be paying more on it, so if we're gonna pay more interest, let's make it a lower. Principal to pay the interest on, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, because last meeting, like I said, you were convinced me that it's better not to pay it off, whatever, but you're saying it is better to pay it off now.
I think it is.
And a little bit more too, so we get it down.
What will our surplus be?
It would be 275 roughly.
And what percent?
No, the surplus.
Well, I'm sorry, sorry, I apologize, I'm putting in the balance of the day.
No. I'm just trying to figure out.
So we were at 1,462,000 at the end of.
So we still be at 1.4, we go.
Oh, because you're taking
No, we used
440.
400 and
Okay, I'm sorry.
So you're, sorry, you're 1,000,000.
480, or are we gonna use another extra 400?
Where are we in the end of the year? 1,400,000.
462,
And we have in the budget using 440.
440 right?
So we would be at 1,022,000. And I'm suggesting using 40,000, so it bring us down to 1,390,000. And we replenish at about 500.
If you use 480,000, you're gonna be 900 something.
Not-
Yeah, that's what I was.
I'm sorry, that's, that should be 993.
Yeah.
I left the one off.
That'd be the 993 after we pay it out, but then we're gonna replenish how much of that this year.
So last year, we regenerated 614,000. But with using 440,000, you know,
You're
it's
gonna,
The net, the net regeneration.
170.
so this year we generated five, would you say 500,000? That's not quite as even for use.
So if we, so use the 480, that brings us down to 982. And if we regenerated 500,000, which is being conservative, we'll be back at 1482 at the start of next year.
Sorry, percentages about what it is to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Theoretically, it could be 20,000 more next year even.
Well, that's why we're doing everything conservatively, so. Barring anything unforeseen, we should be actually, you
And
know.
the good thing is if you, you know, then once you get rid of the debt, theoretically, then you're just leaving 160,000 into the
Right.
surplus every year.
Yeah, no.
It'll take off in 2026, hopefully, or 2027.
We gotta get to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess 2027.
Very good.
That's where you need $2 million worth of equipment,
No, I saw how.
if we have to do this. Okay, so do 160 and.
Wow, very talk.
When's the next gubernatorial election? Is it 2020?
25.
Yeah, next year.
Well, I'm wondering,
Yeah,
should there be a change?
we may not need to.
Right.
I don't, and good luck if New Jersey change. You're not gonna.
You don't think so? You don't think there's any?
You're not gonna get. Who's gonna be?
I think you're still gonna end up probably with the same requirements, it's how aggressive we're gonna have to address them, like the change in the city.
Yeah, man, this is different for a different day, let's discuss the amount, even under the current, even under what the, projected use of the swifters for a town. You know, do we need our own swiffer? I'd rather rent a swiffer, you know, once every 3 months from the county.
Yeah, we can, but as I put it in there is we have the potential to rent it and, but it's similar to. Where we had this discussion, well, like, or, but then we want to manage it.
No, that's what I said, there's, we have to start cleaning other municipalities. Every, all of us don't need a bond, and have one, right? So we'll buy one for, you know, you know, we'll go by the regional school system, those municipalities, and then we'll buy one. And I make that, right, just saying, we can, reduce that cost substantially.
Yeah, we decide.
We share it amongst other.
Yeah, right, and whether the costs are.
That's put it in, share it.
Okay. And then,
And then the,
We, well, we already go there.
next, we want to propose what they want. Budget.
and then sheet 28, this is just showing the special emergency authorization, the $10,000, that we did for the tax map. So for 24, the next, for 5 years, we'll be paying $10,000 to pay that 50,000.
This is the updated tax map,
Right,
this is the updated.
correct, what, what Tom,
Yeah.
So with that, with the changes,
Which, you know, the total general appropriation would be.
that would be. The total would be. Let's say, let's change that one. $3,580,008.35.
3,000,580,008.
580.35.
We're still slightly below last year.
Mhm. And then it changed the reserve for uncollected taxes, that number gets changed, because that's based on a percentage.
Or was that changed to?
So it's 419, 798, 20.
Sorry, I missed that part.
We got a line above.
This morning, we said with what?
798, 20.
We're gonna get clean copies.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so then,
So with the $40,000 additional, we changed the rebate, for a total. It's not, it's still $50,000, whatever, we take $30,000 less than last year.
yep. Which is still almost $500,000 less than where we were in 2021, and we're still rebuilding surplus.
Right. Right.
It's good.
Is that good? I say it is.
That's it, it's good.
I think the big thing is the,
So
banks are,
so paying more down the debt, and we're still keeping it from what we did last year.
I know, it's just strong.
Yeah, what's an overall increase of 0.006,
We've already taken that.
1.3%.
so is our,
So what we're paying out is a 1.3% increase over last year. So we pay less. How's that covered? If we paid out 36, we're paying out 35, how's it a 1% increase? But you 1% decrease.
Because if you go to,
This comes to that.
it also the same thing either.
Yeah.
okay. So this has, if you go to sheet 11. Sheet 11, 6A. Now. Goes to 2,353,266.36.
That's because they uncollected taxes, stuff, correct?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The delinquent taxes, for the uncollected tax, and then,
About the anticipated revenue coming in.
right, so, and then we had to do the, was this what the change was? So what happened was we increased the 50,000, so the 50,000. If you look, on the 2023 column, the 50,000 for the,
Are we showing page 11?
No,
no, the last page, I'm sorry. The $50,000 for the tax map is not absolutely in the original budget. For last year, so when that got put in. That increased over the introduced budget from last year, if that makes sense.
So the 350, the 33,580,000 on this year. Are you still gonna add the 50,000 for the tax map into it?
No, if you look, so on that sheet, if you look under the column for 2023.
Mhm.
So that number now is showing the $50,000.
oh, in there, so theoretically that should be lower.
Right, so last year it was
Yeah.
lower, so when you're looking at where we were this year, or this time, last year,
So we never,
doing this.
the last year it shows 3.614.
includes that $50,000.
That includes $50,000.
Mhm.
That we didn't actually spend, so.
No. The budget's not showing. What number did I give you? Yeah, 3,580.
So even if you take that 50,000 out, compared to this, it's only calculating roughly 16,000 difference, that's not 1%.
Well, no, so it's going to 0.006.
Oh, 0.006%.
Well, but no, it's a 1.38%, but a 0.006 cent. So it's going from, like, the tax rate, the municipal tax rate last year was 0.432, and this year it'll be 0.438.
And
And so,
And then it also changes based on the, net valuation taxable, you
so
know,
that's a 1.32% increase this year,
3.38.
1.38% increase this year, which is better, we started at 1.52, we started over 2%, we worked 1.52 and 1.38.
So it comes to $2.42 per month on the average
And then, so what is
for
that,
the municipal,
what is our average, so the average home is 380, 390 then?
356, 850.
Trying to read both assessment, I guess.
Yeah, wait till that happens.
The increase is 242 per 100, correct?
Correct.
Per 100, so you take this, so you take the 256, divide that by 100.
Well, you get, so for your tax rate, you get it not on this. Where is this assessment? There's too many numbers. All right, so to get the 242, you take the estimated net valuation taxable, which is everything, which is 528,172,492. We multiply that by the total tax. I'm sorry. Divide that by the total tax, and you multiply that by 100 to get the 4.38% of what our tax rate will be. Then you take that number and then you divide that by the 356, 850, the 100 to get the 242.
And
So is
so,
that what you were saying?
no, I lost it. How much more? How much is, yeah, sure.
I could.
How much are you worth, I think, a month?
So I'm like, I have my formula, so this, you have cell F55.
What it's trying, I'm trying to get to that.
Well, remember the word macro that
Yeah.
I taught you? That's what.
on the average $400,000 home, that's what your tax is gonna be in three.
Well, the average 356.
So $242 per month,
Per month?
correct?
How much, say that again, how much?
$202 and.
Oh, that, right, that's what that. That's what I thought.
Well, I wrote down 240.
You said $200, that's what my tax was.
She's got a heart attack.
Carl, they're gonna try.
See, that was the number I was looking at, so I was off a zero, when you said two. So it's $29.04 on the average valuation.
Per year.
Per year. Yeah, per
Okay.
year.
What's the very long?
Right, so $29 more, our taxes are gonna go up.
On the average. home.
On the average, $350,000 home.
For the municipal side.
Yeah.
Right, county.
So we're not responsible for the
Yes.
school, board, county, library, everything.
So nobody thinks it's
Us, yeah.
all together.
The reality is it's probably over $100 with those other agencies.
So, our as an overall thing, so this current project is where we have to discuss now. With the changes that were made for the DPW, the changes that were made for the additional money to pay down the debt and everything else. And the $50,000, that includes this year with the tax man.
Well, I don't.
10,000, broken over the next 5 years.
Yes,
So with all that, the municipal portion, our portion, is gonna be a roughly $30 increase, give or take, for the average homes. We're gonna count it per year. But Steve, anything?
Huh?
Anything? I'm trying to make sense of this and.
No, big deal, $30 a year,
Right, that's fine. Right.
but that's just our side.
It's a lot better than we thought.
Yeah, it should take $240 a year.
I'm moving.
I was wondering where we missed something, is it, if we want to.
Mrs. Cannon, that's a good job.
I think Carl was getting the Lamborghini yesterday.
That's a, you can prize her. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes. We're gonna buy this at the Carl's budget, but I just want, everybody to know, we're gonna get 2 radios for the internationals and 3 headsets, Bluetooth. He's having trouble communicating during the snowstorm between truck to truck, so we're just gonna use that for Carl's budget, so just everybody knows.
how much does that come to?
$242.
All right, so you're good with your budget, then, you don't need to.
It's within the existing budget. Any other questions, concerns?
Okay.
Let's do it during the budget. meeting.
Was people in the.
That's exactly. That's better than expected.
But, motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
They will reconvene at 7:30 for the regular scheduled meeting.
Great, Paul, we'll get it there.
Lou, I'll run out now. I will. Lou, you can, if you'd like to disconnect us to the 7:30.